And we are here back from the requests. We're going to have one more 5 at 5 in a little bit, but that was a request by Corey Spade, the song Illegal Alien by Genesis. Thank you, Corey.
What is this guy's obsession with me anyway? Like, I mean, I'm flattered, but I only like girls. Like, why has he got it out for me so bad? Like, I never met him. I think I shook his hand once in the locker room. I mean, no offense. And then now all of a sudden he's blowing up my Facebook, tagging me on all these posts. I mean, if he tags me again, I'm gonna tag him with a right hand and set his teeth back straight.
Oh wow! I think the shots have been fired, and not only that. Reggie has something to say about you. We tagged you on it on the official soundfm.ca, or sorry, the official Underground Sound Project Facebook page. But he would like your inputs on this.
He has a present to give me of his fist wrapped up. Well, Reggie, I mean, as long as you don't hit me in the family jewels again, I would love to compete with you. And
feeling like he's calling you out for that.
Yes, I think we should have a best of 7 series.
Oh, that'll be interesting to see. Well, I don't know how that would go, actually.
I feel like you have 2 enemies on your trail, Corey Spade and Reggie.
Wow.
I think they're all just jealous. That's what it seems like to me.
Yeah, it's seeming that way, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Maybe we should get everyone in the studio sometime and have a brawl for all or something like that.
Yes, Dr. Phil style.
Oh.
Or maybe Jerry Springer more.
I'm gonna have to be more like, or Steve Wilkos.
Yes.
Anyway, earlier on we were talking about how you were transitioning into professional wrestling from school and whatnot, and you were mentioning how you were going to school for wrestling in Cambridge, and that put your foot in the door. With that transition, when did you end up getting where was your first promotion? Was it PWA or?
No. I mean, the school, they actually ran a couple shows under ACW. My first show was in Cambridge, and then we did Woodstock, and like I wrestled the Highlanders guys a couple times in my first matches, and Jesse Jones and this girl Sandy Stewart, but they did some. And then the guy Eddie Osborne, he came out here a year later from me. He was from Campbell River too, and he had the hustle. Like, I was all too shy, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to kiss any butt to get shows, but he sent out tapes everywhere, and he got a lot of bookings, so we traveled together, and that guy got me like hundreds of matches all across Ontario and into Buffalo and New York and stuff like that. Yeah, so I got a lot of shows, and then in 2005 PWA started up, and then I've just been kind of like dedicated to PWA.
So for 10 years or 11 years now, you've been in PWA?
Yeah, since I was on the very first show, man.
Wow.
PWA original.
And I believe Reggie, was he also there for the first show?
Yeah, he won the title on the first show.
Yeah,
he won the championship, the Pure Wrestling Championship.
I'm guessing, I think Corey brought the championship to British Columbia, right?
That's right, yeah.
So now we don't get to see them.
Yeah, it's kind of good, though, because now there's like the Pure Wrestling Championship out there, and then the Ontario Championship. I'm hoping we're going to make a Trinidad and Tobago title of some sort.
That
or
would
like
be a good idea.
Maybe like the South American title or something. I have no idea, but it's exciting that it's branching out, and like we got signed for Rogers TV. I mean, we're doing radio with you.
Right.
Now they're doing Shaw TV in British Columbia.
Yeah, that's cool.
Hopefully we'll get some TV in Trinidad and Tobago. It's big things coming.
I bet Trinidad. I think the government in Trinidad and Tobago is going to see a big influx on their tourism coming up.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I know they do wrestling in Puerto Rico and Mexico, not so much Cuba, but I don't even think Jamaica. I've never heard of Jamaican wrestling, really. So, like, maybe once we hit Trinidad and Tobago, we can do some of those neighboring ones, right?
Once you're down there, then you could branch out.
It wouldn't be hard to travel.
So you were speaking about, you said, Corey, Reggie in those days, Eddie was in those days. Who were some of the other influences that were around then that are still around now?
Well, I mean, he hasn't been wrestling the last couple months, but Ruffy Silverstein, I mean, that was my greatest competitor, and I learned a lot from that guy, and he's just truly probably one of the best. He trained in the dungeon. He's one of the best technical wrestlers ever. And then Hardcore Hick, Jeff Black, he's been around since day one. Like, there's a lot of guys. Andrew Davis, the guy that wrestled at the last show in that 20-minute match, he was in the first PWA show. Like, there's been quite a few guys that have been hanging around for a couple years.
So they've been in and out of your life as influences in the past decade or so, would be safe to say.
Yeah, like Ty Dillinger of NXT, he was in the first couple shows of PWA because we trained a bit together here and there. Like, I used to live with him, and I had probably one of my best matches back then that I can actually watch because I don't like a lot of them. I had a really great match with him, and there was so many guys. The Highlanders came through, and like we used to get quite a few names too, where we get like some guys like Cesaro, he was called Claudio something back then.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was on a bunch of the shows, and Samoa Joe was on a couple of the shows. Like, yeah, Steve Carino. We had some good talent come through there. Rest in peace, Canyon. He was in WCW.
Oh,
Chris
Canyon,
Canyon.
yeah,
Yeah, he came to a couple of the shows.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So a lot of that stuff, obviously, throughout the years, when you started out, how was your training with them compared to now? Is the regiment and the process of training very similar? Do you still do the same stuff you would have done 10 years ago?
Well, no, I mean, when I was young, hungry lion, 18 years old, we would train, it would be every night, Monday to Friday, for like 3 hours. Like, I would work 12-hour days, and I'd walk home, and then we'd do the training for 3 hours, and it would be like, run the stairs for like 10 minutes, and then like go for a 1 kilometer walk, and then we'd do like stretching, and we do a bunch of cardio, and you were dead tired before
Right.
you did any wrestling, but like, it was legit. I wasn't even allowed in the ring for the first like couple weeks. Like, I was just learn how to do a headlock, and then like just to do a hammerlock, we'd spend a week doing that, like
Right.
doing a lot of rolls and learning the falls. Where now, like in my getting up there in the years, I don't like to do it. If I practice, I don't like to take a lot of falls. I'd like to save that. My bump card's getting full, so I do a lot
Sure.
more like cardio training and like working
Right.
out, that kind of training. I feel the only way to get better now is to actually do the matches. Like, I used to do a lot of practice matches, but now it's like, if there's not a crowd there for me to try out certain things
Sure.
on and see how it's received, then it's
You're
not the
gonna-
same. Yeah.
With the gimmick, was Cuba always your
Yeah,
image,
I've been
or-
Elian Habanero since day one. I did a couple matches under a mask I did like
Oh, cool.
6 matches under a mask, Jam G, because the owner
Sure,
of the
yeah.
promotion was like, you look too young, and you're
Oh,
too
wow.
skinny, and you need a mask on. But like, I'm not, like, I'll jump off the top rope. I'm very brave, but like, I can't do any. I have no athletic
Luchador
ability
stuff.
whatsoever. So like,
Right.
it's all hard. But like, I'm not like one of those super flippy guys or anything. But like, I was just like, you know what, this character, it's a good character. It's like, it's pretty original, not a lot of stuff. So
I love the
I
shirt.
wanted to get back to Elian. Yeah, the shirts will be in Monday.
Sweet, actually. I can't wait to get my Cuban Sensation shirt.
Yes.
Now, when you were, because when your first match happened in PWA, walk us through basically the beginning and the end of that.
The first match in PWA or
Sure,
my first
PWA.
match? It was actually there's a guy named Jesse Jones, and he was quite a character, and he was like he wanted to be this evil manager but wrestler too, and he had like a stable called the Sports Generation. And what
Nice.
happened is we had some feuds in some of the other promotions around the area. So on that first PWA show, it was, if I won the match, I would get to be the leader of the Sports Generation. If he won the match, he got to take control of me and be like my power of attorney, basically. Like, he
Right.
was my owner. So of course the guy pulled out some, like, a chain or something, or brass knuckles out, and caught me when the ref wasn't looking, so he cheated to win. So I was a slave to this guy for like 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah. I won like titles, and I had to give it to him. Otherwise, they would deport me to Cuba. I actually did get deported to Cuba one time. That was the only time I've actually been to Cuba.
Really?
Yeah, no, like craziness.
How did that end up?
It took about 2 years, and finally, good guy. You might know him now. He's the manager of Hardcore Hick, Twisted Joe.
Yeah.
Joe
Right.
Dog. He
Yeah.
was the commissioner back then, and he's managed me a couple times too.
Cool.
He brought me back in, and then I ended up finally getting my revenge. We had some crazy matches, and like a
That's cool.
hair versus hair match, and like a Havana street fight, and like a first blood match, and yeah, like that was an amazing time in my life. Like I hated him at the time,
I
but I
bet.
got a lot of love for Jesse now
Right.
just because of the good times, right?
And then with some of the hurdles that you've had to overcome in the past few years, has there been some sort of injuries or any triumphs and tribulations that?
Yeah. Like I've had a lot of minor injuries. Like I've had like 7 concussions, a lot of like stitches, and a lot of like broken fingers, and like I had a broken heel, and like, but nothing too major. But then just about a year and a half ago, I guess it was now, we were doing this taping for Rogers. It was like an anniversary show. I think it was like the 10-year or 11-year anniversary of PWA. So it was like a 6-man match. All these guys that have been in PWA.
It was a year ago, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was maybe a bit over a year.
I
now,
think I remember
but-
seeing those ads.
Yeah, and I did this move. Used to always do this move where I'd do like a running drop kick off the apron.
Right.
So I went to do that, but I tried to do it on 2 guys, so I didn't turn right. and I landed on the back of my head, and I woke up in the ambulance. Like I was knocked out, blood everywhere. I broke my collarbone. So yeah, I took about 9 months off from that.
Was that at the Alpine Club?
That was at the Alpine Club. Yeah, they couldn't even show it on TV because they're not allowed to show blood, but they were taping it for Rogers, and like apparently like I was somewhat coherent talking to the like they had to call the ambulance and everything, and like they stretchered me out and people were chanting for me and stuff, and apparently I was talking to people, but I don't like I woke up in the ambulance and they're like, I'm like, why am I here? And they're like, don't you remember you've been talking to us for 10 minutes? I'm like, what's going on? What happened in the match? Like, they're like, dude, you like landed on your head. And like,
wow.
Yeah, I had to get staples in the back of my head. And because it was a head injury, yeah, I broke my collarbone. They wanted to put me in for surgery. And I was like, okay, I'll come back tomorrow. But I had a family vacation plan. So I just said, but I mean, I wish I would have came back sooner. But when nowadays, all the stuff we know about head injuries, I was like, you know what? I'm a single dad. Like, I need to make sure this is right. So I took about 9 months off before coming back.
And with the head injuries, I'd imagine that's taken very seriously with in the locker room and stuff.
Yeah. Also, like, I probably, even if I wanted to come back, then like the management probably would have said, hey, give it some more time and stuff. And now I'm trying to like be even more careful and more like
cautious.
I don't know if cautious is just like pick my spots better. Like if I'm gonna do something that's risky, make sure it's like don't just do it all the time just to do it for the sake of doing it. Make sure it's like, you know, I'm gonna hit my bullseye on it. So.
Right. Yeah. That totally makes sense. Because with that, with the competition in the locker room, with a lot of newer talent and younger talent, how do you find yourself in the middle of being basically one of the veterans of PWA?
Well, it's nice. I mean, sometimes people actually ask me for advice, and it feels so weird because, I mean, I still feel like I have a lot to learn in wrestling. Every time I wrestle, I feel like I'm growing. You can never learn everything. You can never know it all. You always have to try and improve yourself. If you think you're the best, then it's good to have confidence in yourself. Right. But if you just think that you can't learn anything anymore, then you get stale, right? But like, yeah, it's nice when some of the younger guys like say, oh, you know, I like when you do this, or like what can I do better? Because I finally came out of my shell and learned a lot of wrestling is not just about the moves. It's also about being a show and like trying to get people to like want to cheer for you and latch on to you. And before I would just go to the ring and do the moves, they had no emotional investment in me.
Yeah.
So now like doing the way I get so excited out there, and I mean I really am. Finally I'm just like showing how happy I am inside and letting it all out, where before I kind of kept it inside.
Right. And well, with that, and obviously they put you in that match, which must be something to say for the rest of your life. Is with all that skill that you have and being one of the veterans, they put you in the match with WWE Hall of Famer Hacksaw Jim Duggan. How is it like to... I remember we spoke, I asked you, what was it like from like the moment you woke up knowing that... What was it like? Just knowing, like, when you woke up in the morning, knowing that you had a match with Hacksaw?
Oh, I mean, just before it even happened, I was just so excited for it. And then, like, he is a true class act, this man. Like, if you meet him in the backstage, I mean, all the fans know that too, but I mean, a lot of them are paying him money and stuff. But like, backstage, he is truly genuine. He's said some really nice things to me, and you know, if I had to retire from wrestling after that match, I actually could be like totally happy with that being my last match. But I mean, there's still more for me. But it was just an amazing feeling. I felt like so on a rush for like 2 weeks after that. Like I'll never forget that. And
even with I believe he cut a promo on Rogers TV, and with that being able to be on Rogers TV, you being able to watch that, have you watched it a lot of times? Or
yeah, I can't wait to when they said they're gonna put it on YouTube soon. So like a lot of people that aren't in this region want to see it, like a lot of my family, and I can't wait to show them because it's like my bread. It's like something that I can always brag about and say, look, like growing up, everybody knew Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Even if you weren't a wrestling fan, like everyone's heard of him. Like my dad's not a big wrestling fan, and even him and all the guys that he gets along with, they're like, what, Hacksaw Jim Duggan? Like they don't watch wrestling now, but they all want to see it so bad, and I can't wait to show them because I felt like I performed well too. Like I felt like I didn't let myself down.
Right. So like that you like, it's so cool to be able to hear you say like you would retire, like you'd be fine with just calling it after that.
Yeah,
match.
I was so nervous going in, and then after everything felt like it went well, and then plus Hacksaw said like some really kind things to me, and it just totally like my heart was like 2 times bigger after that. Yeah.
Well, you could even tell just by looking at him and the way he looked at you. It was just like he was giving you the thumbs up when you were down on the mat and you're doing stuff. He was definitely giving you a push. And like that's got to be the ultimate push. And to be a fan, to be able to see you in that position and to be able to even talk about it on the radio is so cool.
Like that's what I feel my character is. I feel like I'm like the fan that's like saying everything that the way the fans are feeling. Like I'm saying, let's do wrestling, let's have fun, because that's what it is. It's fun. I mean, yeah, I get hit pretty hard and it hurts and stuff like that, but to me it's worth it. And there's no other, like the adrenaline rush when you're out there, there's no greater feeling. Like, you know, I go to work every day, I'm a dad and everything like that, and like, but when you're out there for those like 10-15 minutes or whatever, it's just like, it feels like you're somebody, and everybody, all eyes are on you. They have to watch you. You're right in the center. And
that's how I feel like when I walk into these doors every week, and when I leave the doors, it's like, what?
Big things happening. Big things happening. 103.FM, 100.3 FM. You guys are on point, man.
Yeah, and that's nice because you know I can relate to it, because when you talk about that feeling with Hacksaw, I get that feeling when I get you or when I get Corey or Reggie buys, because like that's what we do. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life, is talk about wrestling with wrestlers on the radio. Yeah, and it's so cool to be able to have you guys to be able to come by. And I question, you know, sometimes when things get a little bleak here around the studio or in life, I mean, there's things that keep pushing us. I'm wondering what keeps pushing you through all those things that's happened to you in the PWA, good and bad, or even in your personal life. What keeps you pushing through the thick and the thin?
Like, to keep loving wrestling, you mean?
Just like, the passion for wrestling and being able to also outside of wrestling as well.
I'm a very positive person. Like, I don't like to be negative. I mean, I just think there's a lot of people in the world that have it way worse than us. We're blessed to live in Canada. Like, if you go to Cuba, it's very poor, or like even some of those Middle Eastern countries, we are truly blessed in Canada. Like, even
though it's cold as hell out.
The weather, it's almost worth the trade-off.
Yeah,
but, like, I just feel like I just try and be positive. Like, Cooper sometimes is a negative Nancy, and I'm just always trying to be positive. Like, we have it so great. Like,
maybe my dad could see eye to eye with you on that about me sometimes, maybe.
You'll get there. I wasn't always like this. I mean, I'm 34 now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I learned a lot of things. So, like, I've had a lot of things happen in my life, and I've just learned it's better to just make the best out of everything instead of crying over spilled milk.
And as a parent, and then you spoke earlier about being able to bring Coop to some of the events. Has he ever watched you in the past at any PWA events?
Yeah. Like, he got really into it. A bunch of his friends were into it. They were into the games a bit. And then, like, I had stopped wrestling for about a year and a half because he was so young, and I had become, like, the single father and stuff. So I was just like, I need to concentrate on him. And plus, I had, like, so many nagging injuries catching up to me. So I was like, this is the perfect time. And then he started getting into it. He started getting into it again. And he was like, hey, Dad, like, didn't you used to be a wrestler? I was like, dude, I'm still a wrestler. You want to watch me wrestle? So I made a few calls, and I got back in there. And then he was all into it for a couple shows, and then he saw me lose a match, and he's like, I'm never watching you again. You lost.
Oh, man, that's harsh.
Yeah. But he still comes with me to the shows and stuff, but he's more about flirting with the girls and stuff.
Nice. But with obviously,
not do that, guys. I did not do
not
that.
Not yet.
I flirt with the girls too.
I hang out with the boys.
There you go.
But with being able to be, you know, it's cool to be able to have Rogers. How do you feel about having like a few 100,000 people being able to just tune in at any point, whether it be a kid or your family members or people you don't even know? Like, it must be pretty cool to.
Yeah, just you guys inviting me here. It just makes me feel better about myself. It makes me feel like I actually am somebody instead of just dreaming about being somebody. And it just keeps getting better and better. These last 2 years, like I said, I stopped wrestling for a year and a half, and like I had a lot of regrets. And I was like, dude, what was I thinking? If I only knew back then what I know now, kind of thing. And like now it's all coming, and it's like I don't want this to stop because it's finally getting bigger and bigger, and I finally know what I'm doing a bit better. And it's just a great feeling, like when you go to the intermission and the little kids want pictures with you and stuff, and it's like, you just feel like it's amazing. I can't really describe it, man. It's out of this world to have people look up to you.
Yeah.
And, like, be kind of celebrity, like a local-ish celebrity, not like
And
a real
that's
celebrity.
I've heard that same tune, depending on whatever side of the angle you're on. I've heard that same tune out of Reggie and Corey, and you know, it's cool to be able to hear that if you're heel, if you're face, or whatever, you still that just being able to show up and have kids or whoever look at you like, you know, you're just like, God, that must be the coolest feeling, especially that it's even just simply community.
And 95% of the people that are wrestlers are big wrestling fans. That's why
Sure.
they get into it. I mean, there's a few exceptions of people that just do it for the money, but like where we wrestle locally, like you have to actually love it to go through that.
Sure.
And, like everyone
Sure.
loves playing a role. Even like some people get off on being the bad guy and everyone would hate them. Like that's not me. I like to have fun and try and get the crowd to have fun, but I can imagine it'd be fun to try and get people upset, right? Like
Right. Well, yeah.
everyone thinks about that, and you know, you have
I
a
think
bad
I'd be
day
really
at
good
work
at
and
that.
stuff, and
Yeah.
they can take it out on the fans.
Sure. I think I'd be pretty good at that myself. Real quick, we got a couple minutes here before we can exit on the song. What's your favorite road story of all time?
My favorite road story. I mean, I have so many road stories. There's quite a few. I mean, we don't have that much time left.
Which I feel as though there's always going to be another time we're going to have Cuban Sensation.
Oh yeah, you gotta
collide.
have me back, man.
I feel like we haven't even scratched the surface yet.
Well, I'll tell you one silly story. It's not
Sure.
that it's not my favorite or anything, but this is just a silly story anyway. So one time we got booked to do a show in Ontario and a show in somewhere in the States. It was like Lake Caledonia or Lake something in New York State on the same day. So we did the show in Ontario, and then there was 5 of us piled in the car, and there was like Eddie Osborne, 21st Century Fox, Jesse Jones, myself, and some guy named Buck 10. So we did the show, and then we got in the car, we got across the border, everything was fine. We were late to the show, we couldn't find where it was, and we were all starved, like we hadn't eaten all day.
Yeah.
And the Buck 10 goes in and he says, I gotta just quickly go to the bathroom. Well, he comes out with like all this Wendy's salad and this and that, and we were all starving. We were all so mad, and we showed up there, and it was a TV taping. Like we were in like this tag team tournament TV taping. We started just as the show was starting, basically. So they were like, "You don't have time. You don't have time. Like your match is up next." So we got there. We were still dressed, luckily, because we wanted to wear our clothes to get across the border.
Right,
'cause
yeah.
Back then, you didn't need passports, but you weren't supposed to be going for working, so we would just
Sure.
wear our clothes underneath other clothes.
Sure.
And then, so yeah, we showed up, and they're like, "Oh, the match is on now. Get to the ring." And then we just went to the match, and it ended up being really good, and it
Nice.
was an amazing day. It was an amazing day.
Everything ended up just the stars aligned for the Cuban Sensation.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm sure I'd love to talk about some more road stories and whatnot. And there's some obviously some more other stuff we could always talk about, but that unfortunately we're close to the end of the show here. And I do want to give a big thank you once again, Elian, for coming by to the studio here and giving me and Pepe an opportunity to be able to discuss what we love, and that's wrestling. And to be able to have you guys come by here and especially bring Coop by, show him what it's good, it's truly an honor for us. So thank you very much.
I'm very blessed. Pepe and yourself, big things coming your way. You
Thank
guys
you.
are class acts, doing a great job, and it was a pleasure as well. I mean, I hope that I'll be back.
Oh, definitely. There's definitely going to be a guaranteed. I feel like I said, we haven't even scratched the surface yet.
Yeah. Thanks to the PWA for letting us.
Yes, thank you,
do this all.
PWA. Thank you for all
Always entertaining
listeners.
us.
Corey, Reggie, all the people who
See you
requested
soon.
for the 5 at 5. One real quick thing while I have you in the studio and everyone listening right now. Big changes coming here for CKMS FM. Within about a month, we're going to be switching over to 102.7. And I believe we're just going to be going by CKMS, so Radio Waterloo. So it's going to be cool to be able to have you guys be able to come here and to use the platform of us changing our image and rebranding our station. It'll be definitely fun being able to go out to PWA events and having you guys come out and try to work in conjunction with our new branding. So
Yeah, it's gonna be win-win. You scratch your back, we scratch yours, kind
exactly.
of thing. And like, honestly, I feel like there's a lot of wrestling fans out there that don't even know about PWA and that we're running shows. And if they
Sure.
knew, like, we got to get the word out, because I think we can just grow even bigger and bigger. Because I think we got a great thing going on here.
Absolutely.
And people like you and Roger's helping us out. It's gonna benefit everybody, and it could could just get even bigger.
I think there's only up from here. So, real quick, we got Reggie Marley earlier. He basically gave you a little bit of a, not a threat, but he said you're going to have some presence of fists open up, and he said that he wanted you to understand and hear this song, the 12 Days of Christmas by Busy Signal. It's a reggae Christmas song requested by Reggie Marley, part of our 5 at 5. So we're going to leave the studio on that, and hopefully the next event that we have, there won't be any interference by anybody against the Cuban Sensation
We
here.
should have a triple threat, false count anywhere, no disqualification, have on a street fight.
Yeah, I like to do it up big time sometimes, go all the way.
That'd be sweet. Make sure you check out their event at the Beehive Hall, January 21st. That's PWA at the Beehive Hall. Ladies and gentlemen, this is DJ JD.
On-air radio personality, the Pepe.
And our special guest this week, the Cuban Sensation, Elian Habanero.
Thanks for having me, guys. Cuba, I love wrestling, and I love 100.3 FM.
Let's do wrestling.
Let's do wrestling. Let's do wrestling.